She was hired to clean, but ended up saving the millionaire his family buried alive. The house was big, but the silence felt even bigger. Marina was wiping the hallway on the second floor when she heard it. A short, faint sound, like someone's breath, asking permission to exist. The door at the end had 2 locks and a dark cloth stuffed underneath, blocking the light. "Is someone there?" she whispered. Silence. Then, a thin voice. "Help." Marina looked around. The niece of the homeowner had left in a hurry. Meeting at the bank, the hallway smelled of disinfectant and neglect. The key was on the side table, next to bottles of medicine and a pen labeled Prado Clinic. Marina's hand trembled. The lock gave way. The room was winter. Shutters sealed tight. The bed surrounded by rails. On the nightstand, a bowl of spilled soup and a dusty glass of water. The man, thin-skinned, hollow-eyed, turned his face and tried to smile. "I thought no one came here anymore. She was only supposed to clean, but she opened the wrong door." Marina is 42 years old, cleans 2 houses a day, has a teenage son, and a mother who forgets names but remembers wounds. She doesn't talk loudly, doesn't pry, doesn't ask what shouldn't be asked. Clean work, quiet exits. When Renata, elegant, cold, with a magazine smile niece and caretaker, hired her for 2 weekly cleanings in a large old house, the only instructions were simple and strange. The rooms on the ground floor, all normal. The second floor, avoid it. My uncle is resting. He gets startled by strangers. Marina nodded but noticed the cameras in the hallway, the new locks, the smells that covered other smells, and the bills. Pharmacy, Prado Clinic, financial services. On the first day she followed instructions. On the second came the sound behind the door. On the third, eyes met eyes. Augusto Mendez, 67, a well-known businessman, now thin as a secret. "The world thinks I'm sleeping," he said, "but what they're doing here is something else." The mystery was open, and so was the conflict. The hallway on the second floor had a color Marina couldn't name. Bluish-gray, maybe, or sickly gray. The light from the pale chandelier didn't seem to reach the corners, as if something in the angles of the house resisted clarity. She had gone up carrying a bucket, a damp cloth, and a mental checklist she knew by heart. Sweep, mop, empty trash, check if anything's out of place. No curiosity, no questions. That was rule number 1 of her job. Rich houses keep secrets, and secrets don't pay bills. But the sound came before she could avoid it. A low moan. It wasn't a pipe. It wasn't the wind. It was human, and it came from behind the door at the end of the hall. Marina froze. The cloth dripped onto the floor. She looked up at the ceiling camera, the small black lens still as an unblinking eye. Then she looked at the door. 2 locks. A dark cloth stuffed under it, sealing any crack of light. "Is someone there?" she whispered. Silence. Then, faint, almost inaudible. "Help!" Marina's heart skipped. She ran down the stairs but stopped halfway. Renata had left. The house was empty. She could pretend she hadn't heard. She could finish the job, take the money and leave. But the voice kept echoing in her head. She went back. The key was on the side table, next to medicine bottles, with faded labels and a pen engraved in gold. Prado Clinic. Her hand trembled as she picked up the key. The lock gave way with a dry click. The room was a cell disguised as a bedroom. The window was sealed with black tape, stuck directly to the glass. The curtains, heavy, were shut behind the tape, as if someone wanted to make sure not a single ray of light escaped. The bed had side rails, the kind used in hospitals. On the nightstand, a bowl of spilled soup, the dried substance forming a yellow crust. A glass of water with a thin layer of dust floating on the surface, and in the center of it all, a man. He was lying down, covered up to his chest, with a sheet too thin for the cold in the room. His skin was translucent, almost bluish at the edges. His eyes were too large for his face, too deep to be just fatigue. He turned his head slowly, as if the movement cost everything. "I thought no one came here anymore," he said, his voice hoarse, strangled. Marina stepped in, closed the door behind her. She didn't know why. Maybe instinct. Maybe fear that someone might see her. "Are you all right, sir?" The question was absurd, but it came out anyway. Augusto tried to smile. It was more of a contortion than a smile. "All right," is a generous word. Marina came closer. She saw the bruises on his arm, old purples mixed with fresh yellows, marks of restraint, pressure maybe. She touched his wrist lightly. His skin was cold, dry. "You need water," she said. I need a lot of things. She grabbed the dirty glass, ran downstairs, washed it, filled it with filtered water, and came back. Augusto drank slowly, each sip seeming like a victory over his own body. They said I was forgetting, he murmured, eyes fixed on the ceiling. But the ones who forgot were them. Marina sat on the edge of the bed. She shouldn't have, but she did. Does your doctor visit you? Augusto let out a sound that could have been laughter or crying. The doctor visits the bill. She looked around. Expired medicine, untouched soup, sealed window, rails. How long have you been here? I don't count time anymore. I only count locks. Marina stood up, went to the side table. There was a second key identical to the first. On the keychain engraved 2B, the number of the door. Whoever locked it planned to return. Whoever locked it knew exactly what they were doing. She slipped the key into her pocket. I'll come back, she said, more to herself than to him. Don't come back, Augusto replied, his eyes glistening. Run while you still can. But Marina was already at the door. She had seen too much. She knew too much. And people like her don't run. People like her clean the dirt no one wants to see. Marina went down the stairs, her legs trembling. In the hallway downstairs, she stopped in front of a framed photo, Augusto Mendez, younger, beside a smiling woman and a little girl with braids. The plaque read, "Family is everything." She looked up at the ceiling camera. Someone was watching, and now they knew she had gone inside. Renata arrived at 3 in the afternoon, as always. The sound of her heels on the marble floor echoed through the entire house, announcing territory. She was the kind of woman who entered a room and reorganized it just by existing. Upright posture, hair in a perfect bun, perfume that cost more than Marina's rent. Marina was in the kitchen cleaning the stove. She didn't look up. "Everything all right?" asked Renata, tossing her leather bag onto the counter. "Yes, ma'am. Did Augusto give you any trouble?" Marina paused, gripping the sponge tighter. "I didn't go upstairs like you asked." Renata smiled, a magazine smile, polished, temperatureless. "Good. He gets agitated around strangers. It's better this way." Marina went back to scrubbing the stove, but her eyes followed Renata around the kitchen. Renata opened drawers, checked papers, moved through her laptop, with the efficiency of someone managing a business, not a home. "How long has he been resting?" Marina asked, voice carefully neutral. Renata didn't lift her eyes from the screen. "Since the stroke. Almost a year now. Recovery is slow. He has episodes of confusion. It's safer this way. Safer to lock him in." The silence that followed was sharp as glass. Renata lifted her face slowly. The smile was gone. "Lock him in?" she repeated, as if the word itself were offensive. "No one locks anyone in. We protect him. He could fall, hurt himself, forget where he is and walk out onto the street. Can you imagine?" Marina nodded but didn't respond. Renata stepped closer, too close. "I understand that you're dedicated, Marina, but understand above all your place. You clean. I take care. Different roles." Marina lowered her eyes. "I understand." "Good." Renata returned to her laptop, opened a folder. Marina caught a glimpse of the header. Temporary guardianship. Augusto Mendez. Below it, a red stamp. Approved. Approved for what? To be locked away? To be forgotten? Renata closed the folder and grabbed her bag. "I won't be here tomorrow. I have a meeting with the lawyer. Stick to the normal routine. Ground floor, kitchen, bathrooms. Second floor, don't even think about it." "Yes, ma'am." Renata stopped at the door, turned back. "Oh, Marina, one last thing." "Yes?" "The cameras record everything. For your safety, of course." She left. The sound of her heels faded. The door closed. Marina stood still, the sponge dripping onto the floor. Renata hadn't said for his safety. She'd said, for your safety. A threat disguised as care. Marina finished her work in silence, put away the cleaning supplies, folded the cloths, checked the trash bins, did everything as she always did. But before leaving, she climbed the stairs. She stopped in front of door 2B, didn't open it, just placed her hand against the wood. On the other side, silence. But she knew he was there. She knew he was listening. "I'll come back," she whispered, and went down. That night, Marina couldn't sleep. She lay on the living room couch, phone in hand, eyes on the ceiling. She thought about Augusto's face, the bruises, the spilled soup, the sealed window. She thought about the word guardianship. She didn't know exactly what it meant, but she knew enough. Someone controlling another person's life. Someone signing on their behalf. Someone deciding who lives, who breathes, Who exists? At 2 in the morning, she typed into her phone, "Can temporary guardianship lock someone in?" The answers were vague, full of legal jargon, words like protection and care. But one sentence stood out: guardianship should only be used when absolutely necessary and always under judicial supervision. Abuse is a crime. Crime. Marina turned off the phone, closed her eyes. In the dark, she saw Augusto's face. They said I was forgetting, but the ones who forgot were them. She didn't sleep, but she made a decision. The next morning, Marina arrived at the house at 8. Renata wasn't there. The house was empty, silent, waiting. She climbed the stairs slowly, her heart pounding. Stopped in front of door 2B. This time, she didn't hesitate. She opened it. And through the crack of the door in the hallway behind her, the camera's lens blinked. Someone was recording. Augusto was awake when Marina entered. His eyes moved first. Then, with effort, his head. He didn't look surprised, just tired. Too tired to be afraid. Too tired to hope. Marina closed the door behind her and locked it from the inside. She knew it was risky. She knew the hallway camera had recorded everything. But at that moment it didn't matter. What mattered was lying in that bed, breathing with difficulty, trying to remember what it meant to be human. "I brought bread," she said, pulling a small bag from her purse. Augusto blinked slowly, as if processing the information in slow motion. "Bread? Fresh?" "Fresh." She broke off a small piece and came closer. He tried to take it, but his hands trembled too much. Marina held the bread for him, let him bite it gently. He chewed with his eyes closed, as if every fiber of the bread was a memory of something lost. "Thank you," he murmured, his voice breaking. Marina sat on the chair beside the bed. It was plastic, cold, the kind of furniture bought not to last, not to matter. "Can you tell me what happened?" Augusto opened his eyes. They shone, not with tears, but with something deeper. Anger, perhaps, or desperate clarity. "I had a stroke," he began, his voice weak but steady. "A mild one. The doctors said I would recover. Physiotherapy, medicine, time. But Renata, she had other plans." "What plans?" "She brought a doctor. Dr. Prado. He ran tests, but not on me. Only on paper. Then they said I was incompetent, confused, a danger to myself." Marina felt her stomach twist. "And your daughter? Livia?" Augusto closed his eyes. "Livia lives abroad, London. Works, has her own life. Renata told her she was taking care of everything, that I was fine. She sent photos, reports, all lies. Livia sent money, a lot of money, for care. But the only care I got was being erased from the world. And the guardianship. I signed. They said it was temporary, just until I recovered. But," he opened his eyes and fixed them on Marina, "it was never temporary. It was life imprisonment." Marina felt a knot rise in her throat. "They called me incompetent," he continued, his voice trembling, "as if they had cut out my tongue. I can't speak, can't leave, can't exist, just breathe, and sometimes even that feels forbidden." She touched his hand gently. His fingers were cold, fragile, like dry branches ready to snap. "Do you want me to call someone?" Augusto let out a sound, half laughter, half sob. "Call someone who believes." Marina didn't answer, but she remembered the phrase. She stayed there for the next 20 minutes, moistened his lips with a wet cotton ball, opened the window, not fully, just enough to let in a thin line of air. Augusto closed his eyes and took a deep breath, as if the air were rare wine. "How long has it been?" Marina asked. "Since I've breathed real air. Months. I don't know how many. Time here has no shape, only weight." Marina looked around. The medicine bottles had faded labels, expired dates. The soup bowl was still there, reeking. The bed rails were scratched, claw marks maybe, or desperation. "Do they come here? Renata, the doctor?" "Renata comes, quickly, brings food I can't eat, medicine I don't recognize, talks about improvements, about patience, but she never looks me in the eyes. The doctor, he only comes when a signature is needed." "And you sign?" Augusto turned his face away. "They hold my hand, guide it, call it assistance. I call it forgery." Something hardened inside Marina. Not just anger, something older, deeper. The same feeling she had when she saw her mother forgetting her own name, or her son coming home from school with eyes too tired for his age. It was the revolt of those who know abandonment. "I'll get you out of here," she said, her voice firm. Augusto opened his eyes. For the first time, there was something in them beyond pain. How? I don't know yet, but I will. He tried to smile. Couldn't. But he held her hand with all the strength he had, which wasn't much, but it was everything. Why? He asked, his voice breaking. Why do you care? Marina looked at him, saw the father she never had, the mother she was losing, herself, if one day no one looked her way again. Because someone has to, she replied. Marina left the room slowly, locked the door, pocketed the key, went down the stairs, her heart pounding. On the ground floor she stopped, looked up at the camera. And this time she didn't look away. That night when Marina got home, her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She opened the message. Just 3 words. Be careful what you see. Marina stared at the screen, at the dark street through the window, at the silence of the house. Someone was watching, and now they knew she wouldn't stop. Marina didn't sleep. She sat in the kitchen, phone in hand, rereading the message. Be careful what you see. It wasn't a warning. It was a threat. She deleted the message, but not the decision. At 6 in the morning, she got up, had coffee, woke her son, and told him she was going to work. He mumbled something and went back to sleep. Routine. Normalcy. But Marina knew nothing was normal anymore. She arrived at the house at 8. Renata wasn't there. Perfect. She went straight up to the 2nd floor. Augusto was awake. Always awake. Marina had begun to suspect that he didn't sleep, or wasn't allowed to. Good morning, she said, setting her bag on the floor. You came back, he murmured, surprised. I said I would. She pulled her phone from her pocket. Augusto frowned. What are you going to do? Record. Record what? The truth. Marina walked slowly around the room, filming. The rails. The window sealed with black tape. The expired medications. The overturned bowl of soup. The dusty glass. She opened the closet. Inside were stacks of unused adult diapers, old dirty clothes, a blanket too thin for the cold. Then she pointed the phone at Augusto. Do you authorize this? Augusto looked at the lens. At the future, at the only chance he had. I authorize to live, Marina recorded. He spoke slowly, his voice weak but steady. My name is Augusto Mendez. I'm 67 years old. I am not sick. I am not confused. I am a prisoner. My niece Renata locked me here. She controls my money, my life, my voice. The doctor, Dr. Prado, never actually examined me. He just signs papers. I am not incompetent. I am forgotten. His voice broke at the end. Marina stopped recording. She approached and held his hand. This will be enough, she said. Enough for what? For someone to listen. Augusto closed his eyes. A single tear slid down, thin, silent. Marina hid the phone at the bottom of her bag, wrapped in a dish towel. She went down the stairs, heart racing. She knew the cameras had caught everything. She knew Renata would see it. But now she had proof, now she had a voice. She cleaned the kitchen in silence, washed the dishes, mopped the floor. Every gesture was mechanical, automatic, but her mind was elsewhere. Planning, calculating, praying. At 10, the phone vibrated. The unknown number again. She opened it. A photo. Her entering door 2B. Below it, a message. You were warned. Marina took a deep breath. Put the phone away. Finished the job. Left. But before crossing the gate, she stopped. Looked at the house, at the windows, at the cameras, and thought, let them come. She went straight to the public health center. Asked to speak with a social worker. The receptionist said she needed an appointment. Marina insisted. The receptionist called the supervisor. Marina insisted again. It's urgent, she said. There's a man being kept in captivity. Silence. 10 minutes later, Marina was in a small room across from a woman with thick glasses and tired eyes. Her badge read, Soraya Gomez, social worker. Explain, said Soraya, without preamble. Marina told her everything. The house, the room, the locks, the guardianship, the doctor, Renata. Soraya listened in silence, taking notes. When Marina finished, she looked up. Do you have proof? Marina showed her the phone. Soraya watched the videos. Her face changed, from fatigue to shock, from shock to contained anger. My God, she whispered. What can you do? Marina asked. Soraya took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. Do you realize what you're doing? I do. The question is, what happens if I don't? Soraya looked at Marina. She saw something in her eyes, something that can't be taught or learned. Courage. The kind of courage that comes when you have nothing left to lose, except your own humanity. I'll call the prosecutor's office, Soraya said, and the Elder Protection Unit. But you have to understand, this will turn into a storm. Renata will come after you. The doctor will sue. You'll be investigated, questioned, exposed. I know. And you still want to go through with it? Marina didn't hesitate. I don't want to. I have to. Soraya nodded, picked up the phone. 2 hours later, Marina was at the police station, giving a statement. Then at the prosecutor's office, repeating everything. They reviewed the videos, the photos, the documents. A young prosecutor with a thin beard looked at her with a mix of admiration and pity. You did the right thing, he said. But be ready. People with money don't fall easily. Marina nodded. They don't need to fall easily, they just need to fall. When Marina got home, it was almost 7 in the evening. Her son was in the living room playing video games. She sat beside him in silence. Mom, are you okay? He asked without looking away from the screen. I will be, she answered. He paused the game, looked at her. Seriously, are you okay? Marina smiled. Tired, but she smiled. I did something today. What? The right thing. He didn't understand, but went back to his game. Marina stayed there watching the screen, thinking of Augusto, of bars, of sealed windows, and thought, tomorrow the war begins. The next morning, Marina woke to her phone ringing. It was Soraya. Marina, they're on their way now, police, prosecutors, forensic team, but Renata's been tipped off, she knows. Marina sat up, her heart racing. How does she know? I don't know. But she's already called her lawyer, and she's heading to the house. Marina hung up, grabbed her bag and ran out the door, because if there was a war, she was going to be there. On the front line. It was Wednesday, Dr. Prado's visiting day. Marina arrived at the house before he did. Renata was there, nervous, pacing back and forth with the phone glued to her ear. When she saw Marina, she hung up immediately. You're late, she said curtly. Traffic, Marina lied. Renata studied her with narrowed eyes, as if trying to read between the lines, but she said nothing, only nodded and went back to her call. Marina went up to the second floor. She cleaned the hallway slowly, alert. She knew something was about to happen. She could feel it in the air, in the heavy silence, in the way Renata walked, quick steps, clenched jaw. At 10 o'clock the doorbell rang. Dr. Prado entered like a man stepping into familiar territory. Grey suit, leather briefcase, stethoscope hanging around his neck like a decoration. He greeted Renata with a nod and didn't even glance at Marina. Coffee, Renata offered. I don't have much time. Let's go straight to it. They went upstairs. Marina followed from a distance, pretending to tidy a shelf. Dr. Prado stopped in front of door 2B but didn't open it. He just pulled papers from his briefcase and handed them to Renata. She signed. He signed, quick, mechanical. Do you need to examine him? Renata asked, uninterested. Not necessary, Dr. Prado replied, putting the papers away. Condition stable. Persistent confusion, flight risk, need for containment. Everything according to protocol. Marina took one step down, pretending to clean the handrail, sir, but kept her ears sharp. And about the guardianship renewal? Renata asked. No problem. With the reports I have, no judge will question it. He's incapacitated. It's official. Excellent. Dr. Prado closed his briefcase. Renata pulled a brown envelope from her pocket. Thick, discreet, but not discreet enough. Marina saw and recorded. Her phone was hidden among the cleaning products on the shelf, the camera aimed at the stairs. She'd positioned it before they came up. Risky, but necessary. The deposit clears Friday, Renata whispered. Perfect. They went down. Marina kept cleaning, invisible, insignificant. A shadow in their house. At the door, Dr. Prado finally looked at her, as if only then noticing she existed. You're the new employee? Marina nodded, keeping her eyes down. How long have you worked here? 3 weeks, sir. And the patient? Seen any changes? Marina bit her tongue, holding back the fury burning inside. I don't go up there, sir. Miss Renata's orders. Dr. Prado nodded, satisfied, as if her answer confirmed something. Better that way. He can get agitated. Not safe for untrained people. Marina forced a smile. I understand, sir. Renata walked him to the door. They exchanged a few low words. Through the window's reflection, Marina saw when Dr. Prado checked his phone. The screen glowed, reflecting in Renata's glasses for a split second. Marina saw numbers. Many numbers. A bank transfer. The amount made her stomach turn. 15,000 reais. For a false report. For keeping a man buried alive. When Dr. Prado left, Renata went back to the living room, opened her laptop, began typing furiously. Marina pretended to dust the nearby shelf. "Marina!" Renata called, not looking up from the screen. "Yes, ma'am? You're discreet, aren't you?" Marina's heart froze. "What do you mean, ma'am?" Renata stopped typing, turned slowly. "Discreet. You know how to keep what you see and hear to yourself. You're not the type to gossip." Marina gripped the rag tighter. "I just clean, ma'am. I don't see anything but dirt." Renata studied her for a long moment, then smiled. That magazine smile. Cold. Calculated. "Good. Because there are things here that could be easily misinterpreted. And I'd hate for someone to get confused." "I won't get confused, ma'am." "I hope not." Renata went back to her laptop. Marina kept cleaning, but her hands trembled. Marina finished early, said her mother wasn't feeling well, that she needed to go. Renata didn't even look up, just nodded. Outside, Marina leaned against the gate and took a deep breath. She grabbed her phone, checked the recording. It was there. Everything. The envelope, the conversation, the reflection of the transfer. She sent the video to Soraya with a simple message, "More evidence." The reply came seconds later. "Received. Operation tomorrow, 6 a.m. Stay away." Marina looked at the house, at the second-floor window, sealed, dark. "Stay away," the message said. But Marina already knew she wouldn't. That night, Marina couldn't eat dinner. She sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea that went cold before she touched it. Her son appeared, worried. "Mum, what's wrong?" "Nothing. You've been weird for days." Marina looked at him. 16. Eyes just like the father who'd left before he was born. Smart. Observant. "I'm sorting something out at work." "What kind of thing?" "Something right. But dangerous." He sat beside her. "Dangerous how?" "The kind that could get me fired or worse." "Then why do it?" Marina smiled. "Tired. Because if I don't, no one will." He stayed quiet for a moment, then took her hand. "You're badass, Mom." Marina laughed softly, squeezing his hand. "Your vocabulary's awful." "But it's true." She didn't answer, but she kept that moment close, because she knew tomorrow everything would change. Marina woke at 5 a.m., dressed in the dark, left the house without a sound. She took one bus, then another, got off 3 blocks before the house, walked slowly, her heart pounding. It was 5:50 when she arrived. The street was quiet, only a distant dog barking. Marina stopped across the street, hidden behind a tree. At exactly 6, the cars arrived. 2 police vehicles. One from the prosecutor's office, a white van with the public health logo. Marina felt tears rising. "It's happening, it's really happening." The doors opened. Officers got out. A woman in a tailored suit, the prosecutor. A man in a lab coat, a forensic specialist. They rang the bell. No answer. Rang again. The living room light came on. The door opened. Renata appeared. Robe, hair loose, face swollen from sleep. But her eyes were alert. Too alert. "What is this?" she shouted, indignant. The prosecutor held up a document. "Search and seizure warrant. Report of unlawful imprisonment and abuse." Renata went pale, then red. "This is absurd. Who had the audacity?" "Door 2B. The prosecutor cut her off, firm. "Now." Renata blocked the doorway. "Without a lawyer, you can't come in." "We have a warrant," the prosecutor repeated, "and we have a potential flagrant crime. Step aside." A police officer stepped forward. Renata backed up but didn't move. "This is a setup. It was that hysterical cleaning woman, wasn't it? She broke into my house, manipulated my uncle, took photos without permission." "We have recordings," said the prosecutor evenly, "witness testimony, and a judicial order. Last chance, step aside." Renata was breathing hard. Her eyes blazed with fury, but she stepped aside. Marina watched them go in, watched them climb the stairs, watched the prosecutor stop in front of door 2B, watched them open it, and watched Renata's world collapse. From across the street, Marina clung to the tree to keep from falling. Her legs trembled, her heart pounded. Then she saw it, Augusto being carried out on a stretcher. He was conscious, eyes wide, startled by daylight. And for a brief second his eyes met hers. Marina pressed her hand to her chest. He tried to smile. Inside the house, Renata was screaming. A glint of metal flashed on her wrist. Handcuffs. The whole city had just entered that house, and with it, the air. Marina couldn't move for several seconds. She stood there behind the tree, watching the scene unfold like a movie in slow motion. Paramedics were checking Augusto's vital signs. The prosecutor was giving orders. Police officers went in and out of the house carrying boxes of documents, medicine bottles, computers, and in the middle of it all, Renata, handcuffed, was screaming, "This is illegal. You'll all regret this. My lawyer will sue every single one of you." The prosecutor didn't even look at her. "Take her to the patrol car," she ordered one of the officers. Renata was dragged away, still shouting. As she passed through the gate, her eyes scanned the street and found Marina. The world stopped. Renata stopped shouting, stopped struggling, just looked. And in that look, there was everything: hatred, shock, disbelief, and fear. Marina didn't look away. Renata opened her mouth as if to say something, but the officer pushed her into the car. The door slammed shut. The siren wailed, and she was gone. Marina crossed the street slowly. Her legs were still trembling. A police officer saw her and raised his hand. "Hey, you can't go in there." I'm Marina. I made the report." The officer looked at her more closely, then nodded. "Wait here." He went inside the house and came back a minute later with the prosecutor. She was a woman in her 50s. Short grey hair, firm gaze. She extended her hand. "Dr. Helena Moraes, public prosecutor." Marina shook her hand, still dizzy. "Marina Silva." "You did the right thing," Helena said. Serious, but kind. "But you need to understand, this is only the beginning." "I know." "No." Helena shook her head. "You don't know. Renata has money, lawyers. She'll claim you trespassed, forged evidence, manipulated an incapacitated elder. She'll paint you as an opportunist, a con artist, a criminal." Marina swallowed hard. "And will it work?" Helena looked toward the house, toward the open door of room 2B, toward the barred windows now being photographed by forensics. "Not if we have enough evidence, and you gave us that. But you're going to be questioned, investigated. Your life will be turned inside out. Your name will be in the papers. Are you ready for that?" Marina thought of Augusto's face. Those huge, lost eyes. The weak voice saying, "I thought no one came here anymore." "I'm ready," she said firmly. Helena nodded, something like respect glinting in her eyes. "Then we'll need your formal statement. Today, if possible. Now, if you want." Marina spent the next 4 hours at the police station. She told everything again, from the first day, the sound behind the door, the key on the table, the bruises, the overturned soup, the cameras, Dr. Prado, the envelope, the bank transfer. Every detail was recorded, stamped, signed. When she finished, it was almost noon. Marina left the station dizzy with exhaustion, but strangely light, as if she had lifted a weight off her chest. Her phone rang. It was Soraya. "Marina, did you see the news?" "No, why?" "Turn on the TV, any channel." Marina stepped into a nearby bar, asked politely, and pointed to the television on the wall. The attendant changed the channel, and there it was. "Businessman found imprisoned in his own home. Niece and doctor arrested." A photo of Augusto, younger, healthier, filled the screen. Then, footage of Renata being led away by police. Then, the house. The reporter spoke quickly, dramatically. "Real estate businessman Augusto Mendes was found this morning locked in degrading conditions inside his own residence. His niece, Renata Mendes, who held temporary guardianship, is accused of unlawful imprisonment, abuse, and embezzlement. The physician responsible for the reports, Dr. Octavio Prado, has also been arrested. The complaint came from a domestic worker who preferred not to be identified." Marina felt a lump rise in her throat. Who preferred not to be identified? For how long? The answer came that same night. Marina was at home trying to have dinner when her phone exploded. Messages, calls, unknown numbers. She answered one. "Hello? Marina Silva? This is from Jornal da Cidade. We'd like an interview about the Augusto Mendes case. Can you—" Marina hung up. Another call. "Marina, this is from Channel—" She hung up. Another. "I'm the lawyer for the Mendes family, and I'd like to—" She hung up again. She turned off the phone, sat on the couch, breathed. Her son appeared, eyes wide. "Mom, you're on the internet." "What?" He showed her the phone. A video, filmed by someone on the street. Marina behind the tree, watching the operation. Another video. Marina leaving the station. Another. Marina in the bar, watching the TV, and the comments. Thousands of them. Hero. Opportunist. Brave. Fraud. Marina closed her eyes. "Turn it off. Mom, turn it off." He did. Silence. "You knew it would be like this?" he asked softly. "I knew it would be bad. I didn't know it would be fast." "And now?" Marina opened her eyes, looked at her son, at the small house. at the simple life she had built, brick by brick. Now we endure. The next morning Marina woke to someone knocking at the door. She opened it. It was her neighbor Donna Lourdes holding a lunchbox. "I brought you lunch. I saw you on TV. Thought you might need it." Marina's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you." Donna Lourdes squeezed her hand. "You did the right thing. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." She left. But throughout the day, others came. The bakery owner brought bread. The hairdresser from the corner brought cake. The local pastor left a note. God sees. And Marina understood something. The world had good people and bad people. And sometimes doing the right thing was simply choosing which side to stand on. That afternoon, her phone rang again. Unknown number, but with a São Paulo area code. Marina hesitated. Answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then a woman's voice. Foreign. Breaking. You're Marina?" "Yes. Who is this?" The voice trembled. "I'm Livia. Augusto's daughter. I need to talk to you." Marina sat down slowly. "I'm listening." Livia's voice was muffled, broken by restrained sobs. On the other end of the line, Marina could hear distant car horns, the British accent of someone speaking in the background. London. Another life. Another world. I saw the news," said Livia, her voice faltering. "I saw the photos. I saw my father being carried on a stretcher. He looked so thin." Marina didn't know what to say. She gripped the phone tightly. "When was the last time you spoke to him?" A long silence. "About 8 months ago, maybe 9. Renata said he was confused, that he couldn't hold a conversation. She sent short videos, him waving, saying he was fine. I believed her." "You sent money?" "A lot. For treatments, doctors, nurses. Renata said he needed special care, equipment. I transferred the money without question. I thought..." Her voice broke. "I thought I was helping." Marina closed her eyes. She felt anger, but not at Livia. Anger at those who turn love into a weapon, who use trust as a tool of harm. "You didn't know," Marina said softly. "How could you? I should have come. I should have insisted. But I was busy. Work, life, excuses. Always excuses." "Sometimes we choose not to know," said Marina, repeating what she had once said before, but now with less judgment, because she understood. The whole world chooses not to know. It's easier, less painful. "How is he?" Livia asked desperately. Is he going to be okay?" "He'll need time, care, truth, but he'll be." Livia sobbed loudly. Thank you for seeing him, for not closing your eyes." Marina didn't answer. She just listened to the crying on the other end, the cry of someone who woke up too late, but still woke up. "I'm coming back," Livia said firmly. "I'll take the first flight. I'll see my father. I'll fix this." "Not everything can be fixed," Marina said honestly. "But you can try." "That's what I'll do." They hung up. Marina sat there staring at the phone. She thought about all the Livias in the world, all the ones far away, busy, trusting, and all the ones who abused that trust. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Marina was called for more statements. Renata, held in temporary custody, screamed her innocence. Dr. Prado, also under arrest, claimed he was just following protocol. But the evidence was too strong. The recordings, the photos, the falsified medical reports, the bank transfers. The press wouldn't let go of the story. Daily headlines: businessman locked up by his own family. Doctor sold fake reports for $15,000. Housekeeper: hero or opportunist? Family disputes claims. Marina tried to ignore it, but it was impossible. On the street, people recognized her. Some thanked her. Others looked away. One even spat on the ground as she passed. "Show off," muttered a woman on the bus. "Probably after his money." Marina clutched her bag tighter and said nothing. On the 5th day after the operation, Marina went to visit Augusto. He was in a rehabilitation clinic, a bright, airy room with an open window, the exact opposite of room 2B. When she entered, he was sitting in a chair looking outside. He turned slowly. "Marina," he said, his voice still weak, but with something new in it. Color, life. She approached, took his hand. "How are you feeling?" "Alive," he said, smiling, a crooked smile, but real. "Thanks to you. It wasn't just me, it was a lot of people. But you started it." Marina sat beside him. They stayed silent for a moment, just looking out the window. Outside, birds, trees, life happening. "Your daughter is coming," said Marina. Augusto blinked slowly. A tear rolled down his face. "Livia?" "Yes." "She called. She's on her way today." Augusto covered his face with his hands. His shoulders shook. I thought she'd forgotten me. She didn't forget, she just didn't know. And Renata? Marina took a deep breath. In custody. She'll face everything. Augusto nodded, not with joy, just weary acceptance. She was my niece, my sister's daughter. I helped raise her and she buried me. Money does that to people. Not money, said Augusto, looking at Marina. Greed. There's a difference. She nodded. 3 days later, Livia arrived. Marina was there when father and daughter met, a scene she would never forget. Livia entered the room slowly, as if afraid her father might fall apart. She was tall, blonde, with green eyes just like Augusto's, beautiful, but with a sadness no makeup could hide. Dad, she whispered. Augusto looked up. He froze. Then he reached out his arms. Livia ran to him, dropped to her knees beside the chair, and hugged him tightly, as if she could erase months of absence in one gesture, and she cried, loudly, unrestrained. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Augusto stroked her hair, his hands trembling. You didn't know. I should have. Marina slipped out quietly, closed the door, stayed in the hallway, wiping her own eyes, because some things aren't meant to be seen, only felt. Hours later, Livia found Marina at the reception. You're Marina, she said, not a question. I am. Livia hugged her, tight, desperate, grateful. Thank you for seeing what I didn't, for doing what I didn't do. Marina stepped back, uncomfortable. I just did what anyone would have done. No, Livia shook her head. Anyone else would have closed their eyes. You opened yours. They sat on a bench in the hallway. Livia had dark circles under her eyes, wrinkled clothes. She had come straight from the airport. I don't know how to thank you, Livia said. I know you lost your job, that you're being attacked, that your life turned upside down because of this. I'd do it again, Marina said simply. Why? Marina thought. Of her mother who was forgetting, of her son who was growing, of all the locked doors in the world. Because someone had to, and I was there. Livia nodded, eyes full of tears. My father wants to see you again. There's something he wants to say. Marina entered the room. Augusto was awake, sitting, holding an envelope in his trembling hands. Sit, he said. Marina sat. Augusto extended the envelope. This is for you. I don't want money, sir. It's not money, open it. Marina opened it. Inside a document. She read it again. Her heart raced. Mr. Augusto, I can't accept this. He smiled. You already did, the moment you opened that door. Marina held the document with trembling hands. The words danced on the page, refusing to make complete sense. But a few stood out, sharp as screams. Irrevocable power of attorney. Management of assets. Augusto Mendez, in full possession of his mental faculties. Marina Silva. She looked up, stunned. Mr. Augusto, I can't. This is necessary, he interrupted, his voice firm despite the fatigue. Livia has her own life. She's far away, and I no longer trust blood. I trust character. But I'm a cleaning lady. I don't know how to handle companies, investments, any of that. You know how to handle what matters, said Augusto, his eyes locked on hers. Honesty. And that can't be taught. Livia, standing by the window, nodded. It was my idea too, she said softly. My father needs someone to look after him, not out of interest but out of humanity. You proved you're that person. Marina shook her head, dizzy. But people will say, they'll think, that you're a scammer? Augusto smiled wearily. They already do, that you're after my money. They already say that too. Let them talk. I know who you are. Who am I? The person who saved me when the world buried me. Marina felt the tears rise, tried to hold them back, failed. I don't know if I can. It's too much responsibility. You pulled me out of a cell. You can handle anything. Livia approached, touching Marina's shoulder. You don't have to decide now. Think about it. Talk to a lawyer. But know this. To us, you're already family. Marina looked at the document, at Augusto, at Livia, and thought, how fast life changes. Yesterday I was cleaning floors. Today I'm holding someone's future in my hands. I need time, she said honestly. As much as you want, Augusto replied. Time is what I have most now. Marina left the clinic in a daze. The document was folded inside her bag, heavy as lead. She wandered aimlessly for a few blocks, trying to organize her thoughts. She stopped in front of a church. She wasn't religious, or rather she was the kind of practical believer who spoke to God only when she needed to, without ceremony. She went in. The silence wrapped around her like an embrace. She sat in the last pew, closed her eyes. "I don't know what to do," she whispered into the emptiness. "I don't know if I'm the right person." The emptiness didn't answer, but the silence had something comforting in it, as if it said, "You don't need to know. You just need to try." Marina stayed there for half an hour. When she left, she didn't have answer, but she had peace. The following days brought new storms. Renata's lawyer filed for her release, claiming unjustified preventive detention, contaminated evidence and testimony from an emotionally involved employee. The request was denied, but the legal battle had only just begun. Dr. Prado, on the other hand, offered a plea bargain. He handed over documents, names, the entire scheme. There were other cases, other elderly victims, other families, other fake guardianships. The scandal exploded. Doctor confesses, fake guardianship scheme involved 17 families. Marina saw the headline and felt sick. 17. 17 Augustos, 17 locked doors, and how many still undiscovered. 2 weeks after the rescue, Marina was called to testify in court. She entered the courthouse on shaky legs, accompanied by a lawyer Livia had hired for her, a serious man with glasses, who spoke little but inspired confidence. The room was cold, formal. Renata was there, across the aisle, flanked by 2 lawyers in immaculate suits. When Marina entered, their eyes met. Renata's gaze was pure poison. Marina sat down, swore to tell the truth, and told everything again, every detail, every sound, every door opened. Renata's lawyer interrupted her several times. "Weren't you trespassing on private property when you entered a room expressly off limits to you? I heard someone asking for help, or imagined it, driven by other motives. I recorded it. Mr. Augusto asking for help. Would you like to hear it again?" Silence. The lawyer changed tactics. "You had no financial interest in getting close to my client? Your client was locked in a cell. My client was under medical treatment, with a doctor who never examined him and received $15,000 for false reports." The lawyer opened his mouth, closed it, checked his notes. The judge, a woman with grey hair and sharp eyes, intervened. "Counselor, the evidence has already been submitted. Medical analysis, site inspection, independent reports. All confirm unlawful imprisonment and abuse. The witness is here to clarify, not to be attacked." The lawyer retreated, frustrated. Marina continued. She spoke for 2 hours. When she finished, she was exhausted, but standing tall. As she left the courtroom, Renata passed by, escorted by police officers. She stopped, looked at Marina, and whispered low enough for only her to hear, "You just destroyed your own life." Marina looked back and replied, steady, "I saved his, and that's worth more." Renata was led away. Marina stood still, trembling but strangely strong. That night, Marina finally made a decision. She called Livia. "I accept." "Accept what?" "The power of attorney, the responsibility, all of it." Silence on the other end. Then a muffled sob. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'll do it anyway." Livia laughed and cried at the same time. "Thank you, thank you. Don't thank me yet. I don't know if I'll be good at this." "You already are." Marina returned to the clinic the next day. Augusto was sitting on the porch, soaking in the sun, something unthinkable 3 weeks earlier. She approached, sat beside him. "I accept," she said. Augusto turned his head slowly, his eyes glimmered. "Are you sure?" "No, but I accept." He smiled, for the first time a full smile. "Thank you for opening the window." Marina held his hand. "We're still going to open the door." They sat there in silence, sunlight warming their faces, and for the first time in months, Augusto felt something he had forgotten, hope. 2 days later, Marina got a call. It was lawyer Duarte, the same one who had helped formalize the power of attorney. "Marina, we need to talk, it's urgent." "About what?" "About what else Renata was hiding, and about what Augusto wants to do now that he's free." Marina felt a chill run through her. What does he want to do? Justice, but not just for himself, for everyone else. Marina closed her eyes. The war wasn't over. It was only beginning. Duarte's office was in an old downtown building, the kind with a gated elevator and creaking wooden floors. Marina went up slowly, her heart tight. She didn't know what to expect, but something in the lawyer's tone had made her uneasy. Duarte received her in a cramped room filled with stacks of case files, smelling of old paper and reheated coffee. He was a man in his 60s, thinning hair, tired but intelligent eyes. "Sit," he said, pointing to a cracked leather chair. Marina sat. He opened a thick folder filled with documents marked with colored post-its. "I'll be direct," he began. While Augusto was incapacitated, Renata did much more than lock him away. She sold 2 of his properties, transferred stocks, took out loans in his name, diverted dividends, all with assisted signatures and fake reports from Dr. Prado. Marina felt her stomach turn. How much? Almost 3 million reais. The silence was heavy. Can it be recovered? Part of it. Some transactions were made in good faith by third parties who didn't know the situation. But most, yes, it can be reversed. It'll take time and work, but it can be done. Marina took a deep breath. And Augusto knows. He does, and that's why he asked you to come. He wants you to officially take over the management of his assets, not just because he trusts you, but because Livia can't. She's going back to London next week. Work, life, commitments. Marina shook her head. But I don't understand anything about finance, contracts, or... That's why I'm here, Duarte interrupted. You don't need to understand everything. You just need to sign what I tell you, question what seems wrong, and be his eyes. That's all. That's all, Marina repeated ironically. Duarte gave a tired smile. You've already done the hard part. The rest is bureaucracy. Marina left the office with her head spinning. She stopped at a cafe, ordered a glass of water, tried to collect her thoughts. 3 million. Sales. Transfers. Forged signatures. Renata hadn't just locked Augusto away. She had stolen his entire life. Her phone rang. It was Livia. Marina, can you come to the clinic? My father wants to talk to us. Together. I'm on my way. When Marina arrived, Augusto was in the clinic's lounge, sitting in an armchair, steadier than before. Still thin, still fragile, but with something new in his eyes. Determination. Livia was beside him, holding his hand. Marina sat down. Duarte told me, she said. Augusto nodded. So you know. Renata didn't lock me up out of care. She did it out of greed, and she did it with the help of a corrupt doctor and a system that doesn't look, doesn't question, doesn't protect. You want to press charges. I want more than that, said Augusto, his voice firm. I want to expose them. I want every one of Dr. Prado's cases investigated. I want every family to know what happened. I want to make sure this never happens to anyone else. Marina felt a chill. This will become an even bigger scandal. I know. They'll attack you. They'll say you're after revenge or money or fame. I know, Augusto repeated, but I don't care. Because if I stay quiet, how many others will be locked away? How many will disappear inside their own homes? Livia squeezed his hand, her eyes full of tears. Dad, are you sure? This will be exhausting. It'll expose you. I've already been exposed, Augusto interrupted. I spent months naked, weak, voiceless. Now that I have my voice back, I'm going to use it. Marina looked at him. She saw courage. She saw anger. She saw justice. What do you need from me? To stand by me. To sign what's necessary. To be my witness. And to remind me on the bad days why I'm doing this. Marina nodded, her throat tight. I'll stay. The following week, Augusto gave an interview. It was for a nationally broadcast TV program. Marina watched from home, her son sitting beside her, both silent. Augusto looked thinner on camera but firm. He answered each question clearly, without anger, without drama, only truth. I was locked away by my own niece. She called me incompetent to control my money, but what she really did was steal my life, and I discovered I wasn't the only one. 17 families were victims of the same scheme. Elderly people locked up, medicated, silenced, and I want every case investigated. Everyone. The interviewer asked, You're not afraid of retaliation? Augusto smiled sadly. They already took everything from me, even the air. I have nothing left to lose. The interview went viral. Within 24 hours, it was on every news site, every social network, every group. Hashtags appeared. Just justice for Augusto, just guardianship, eyes abuse, elders matter. And with the exposure came other victims. 2 days later, Marina received an email. It was from a woman named Teresa. She wrote that her father, diagnosed with mild Alzheimer's, had been placed under guardianship by her sister, that he had vanished inside his own house, that the doctor's name was Dr. Prado. Marina forwarded the email to Duarte. Another email arrived, then another and another. Entire families began to speak out. Similar stories. Elderly people disappearing, sudden guardianships, Dr. Prado signing reports. Marina printed every email and brought them to Augusto. He read them in silence, his hands trembling. When he finished, he looked up at her. "There are so many." "There are," Marina said, "and they all deserve justice." Augusto closed his eyes, took a deep breath. "Then let's give it to them." Livia returned to London the following week. It was painful. She and Augusto hugged for long minutes at the airport, neither wanting to let go. "I'll be back in 2 months," Livia promised, "and I'll call every day." "I know," said Augusto. "Go live. I'm fine, Marina's here." Livia looked at Marina, who stood a few steps away, giving them privacy. "Take care of him," Livia said, her voice breaking. "I will, and let him take care of you too. You deserve it." Marina didn't answer, but she nodded. Livia left. Augusto stood there watching the departure gate until she disappeared. "She'll be fine," Marina said softly. "I know," Augusto replied, "but she carries guilt, and guilt weighs heavy. Guilt only weighs when we don't try to fix things. She's trying." Augusto nodded. He turned to Marina. "Shall we go home?" Marina smiled. "Let's go." But when they arrived back at the clinic, there was an envelope at the reception desk. Addressed to Augusto. No sender. Marina opened it. Inside, a photograph of door 2B, still locked, still dark, and written by hand on the back. "Some secrets never leave home." Augusto went pale. "What is this?" Marina turned the photo, showed him. He read it again. "Renata," he whispered. "She's not finished yet." Renata's trial began on a cold August morning. The courthouse was packed. Journalists, onlookers, families of other victims, everyone wanted to see. Marina arrived early, accompanied by Augusto. He wore a suit, the first in months, and walked slowly, leaning on a cane. But he walked. Renata entered under escort. She looked different. Hair tied back, no makeup, simple clothes. She tried to appear vulnerable, human, but her eyes were the same. Cold, calculating. When she saw Augusto, she stopped. For a second, something crossed her face. Regret? Fear? Marina couldn't tell. Augusto just looked, not with anger, but with deep sadness. Prosecutor Helena Moraes opened the case with surgical precision. She presented the evidence, photos of the room, bed rails, sealed window, Marina's videos with Augusto asking for help, bank records showing the transfers, Dr. Prado's falsified reports, property sales without real authorization. "What we have here," Helena said, her firm voice echoing through the room, "is not a case of excessive care. It is a case of unlawful imprisonment, psychological torture, and embezzlement." The defendant kept her uncle locked up, isolated, undernourished for almost a year, not to protect him, but to control him, to take what was his while he was still breathing. Renata's lawyer, Dr. Alvaro Campos, slicked hair, expensive suit, the confidence of someone who has never lost, stood up. "Objection, Your Honor. The prosecution is making value judgments, not presenting facts." Judge Dr. Beatriz Fonseca looked at him over her glasses. "Overruled. The facts are documented." "Continue, Doctor." Helena continued. She called witnesses. The first was the neighbor, Donna Celia, who said she hadn't seen Augusto for months, that the house was always locked, that Renata always said he was resting. The second was the forensic expert who examined the room. He described it technically. Signs of prolonged restraint, lack of proper hygiene, insufficient nutrition, a sealed window compromising ventilation. The third was Marina. Marina climbed to the witness stand with trembling legs. She swore to tell the truth. She looked at the crowded room, at Renata, at Augusto, and told everything, again, but this time, with every detail magnified. "When I entered the room for the first time, I thought I was seeing a cell. The bed had rails. The window was sealed with black tape. No light came in, no air came in. There was a bowl of soup spilled on the nightstand with a dry crust, a glass of water with dust. Mr. Augusto was far too thin, skin almost translucent. He looked at me and said, 'I thought no one came here anymore.'" The room fell into absolute silence. "Was he conscious?" Helena asked. "Completely. Lucid. He knew who he was, where he was, what they were doing to him. He told me about the mild stroke, the forced guardianship, the assisted signatures. He asked me for help. And the defendant. Did she know about his condition? She ran everything. Brought food he could barely eat. Controlled the medications. Kept the cameras to make sure no one got close. She knew every detail." Dr. Campos rose for cross-examination. "Mrs. Marina, Were you not invading a private space when you entered that room? I was responding to a cry for help, a cry you claim to have heard. There's no way to prove it happened. I recorded it. His voice asking for help. The video is in the record. Dr. Campos checked the papers, annoyed. Did you have any financial interest in getting close to Mr. Augusto? None. But today you hold power of attorney over his assets, correct? Correct, because he offered it. After he was free, after he was safe. Doesn't that seem convenient? Marina looked at him, steady. Convenient would have been closing that door and pretending I heard nothing, like everyone did for months. Murmurs swept the room. The judge banged the gavel. Order. Dr. Campos stepped back, displeased. After Marina, it was Augusto's turn. He climbed up slowly, leaning on the cane. Sat with difficulty, swore the oath. The entire room held its breath. Helena approached, gentle. Mr. Augusto, can you tell us, in your own words, what happened? Augusto took a deep breath. He looked at Renata. She looked away. I had a mild stroke, he began, his voice weak but clear. The doctors said I would recover, but Renata said I was confused, that I needed help. She brought in Dr. Prado. He ran tests without examining me, signed papers saying I was incompetent, and overnight I was no longer the owner of myself. What do you mean? I couldn't leave the house, I couldn't talk to anyone, I couldn't object. Renata took over my life. She said it was for my own good, but what she wanted were my accounts. And the room? Augusto closed his eyes for a moment. She said I was having aggressive episodes, that I needed restraint. She locked me in, sealed the window, put rails on the bed. I begged to be let out. She said it was temporary, but days turned into weeks, weeks into months. I thought I would die there. His voice broke. The room fell into sepulchral silence, until Marina opened the door. Helena let the silence weigh. Do you have anything else to say? Augusto looked at Renata. You were my niece, I loved you, I helped raise you, and you buried me alive, not for the money, but because you could, because it was easy, because the elderly, deep down, no one sees. Renata began to cry, but no one was moved. Dr. Campos cross-examined, trying to plant doubt. He spoke of preventive care and safety measures, documented mental confusion, but the judge cut him off. Counselor, the forensic report is clear. There was no medical need for restraint. There was criminal intent. Move on or conclude. Campos concluded, defeated. Then it was Renata's turn to testify. She stepped up, trembling, eyes red. She swore. Dr. Campos conducted the questioning, trying to humanize her. Ms. Renata, why did you take these measures with your uncle? I was scared. He fell. He forgot things. I thought I was protecting him. And the property sales. They were to pay for treatments, everything documented. And the locked door? Renata hesitated. He tried to leave once at dawn. He almost fell down the stairs. I panicked. I thought locking was safer. For almost a year. Silence. Helena stood for cross-examination. Ms. Renata, did it never occur to you to call professional help? A nurse, a physical therapist, a social worker? I was taking care of him. Taking care of him by locking him in a dark room without ventilation? Taking care of him by selling his assets without real authorization. I needed money to... For what? Helena held up a bank statement. To buy an apartment in your name? To travel abroad 3 times? To transfer 100,000 reais to an offshore account? Renata turned pale. It's called unlawful imprisonment, embezzlement, and torture. The rest is euphemism. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, the verdict was unanimous. Guilty. Renata collapsed. Her lawyers held her up. The judge announced the sentence, 12 years in prison in a closed regime, plus full restitution of assets, plus damages for pain and suffering. Augusto did not celebrate. He simply closed his eyes, tired. Marina held his hand. It's over. No, he said, opening his eyes. Now it begins. As they left the courthouse, a man in a suit approached Marina. Mrs. Marina, I represent 5 other families, victims of Dr. Prado. We would like your help. Marina looked at Augusto. He nodded. We'll help, she said. The man smiled, relieved. Thank you. Because there are many doors still locked out there. Marina nodded and understood. The fight wasn't just Augusto's. It belonged to all the forgotten. 3 months after the trial, Marina's life had turned completely upside down. But this time, in a way she never thought possible. The big old house, which had once been a prison, now breathed. The windows were open. The light curtains danced with the wind. The smell of disinfectant had been replaced by fresh coffee and homemade bread. Marina had moved in. It wasn't her idea. It was Augusto's. "This house is too big for one man," he said, sitting on the veranda they had built where door 2B used to be, "and too small to stay empty. But I have my house, my son. Bring him. There are plenty of rooms, and he can study here in peace. No noisy neighbors, no cramped space." Marina hesitated, but when her son Theo found out, he agreed immediately. "Mum, the house has a pool. A pool. Are we going or not?" So they went. The adjustment was strange at first. Marina felt out of place in that huge house, filled with furniture worth more than her annual salary, but Augusto made a point of making her feel at home. "You're not a maid here," he said firmly. "You're family." And little by little, Marina started to believe it. Theo adapted quickly. He became friends with the gardener, learned to swim in the pool, and turned one of the bedrooms into a gamer base. Augusto, for his part, loved having the boy around. They played chess in the afternoons, watched movies at night, talked about everything and nothing. "He reminds me that the world goes on," Augusto told Marina one evening, "that there's a future beyond the bars." Marina smiled, her eyes glistening. "Are you happy?" she asked. Augusto thought for a moment. "I'm alive, and that's more than I ever dreamed of a few months ago." But the real transformation came with the project Augusto started. With the help of Duarte and Marina, he decided to turn part of the house into a place of care, not a shelter, not a clinic, but a home. The Augusto Mendez home, where no one is forgotten. The goal was simple: to welcome elderly people in situations of vulnerability, neglect, or family abuse, to give them a safe, respectful place where they could live with dignity. Marina took on the coordination. At first she thought she wasn't qualified, but Augusto insisted. "You saved one man by opening a door," he said. "Imagine what you can do by opening many." The first resident was Mr. Orlando. He was 74, living alone after his wife's death. His children lived far away, called occasionally. A neighbor had found him malnourished and confused. When he arrived at the home, he was frightened, withdrawn. Marina greeted him at the door. "Welcome, Mr. Orlando. Here, you have a voice." He looked at her suspiciously. "A voice for what?" "For everything. To say if you want coffee or tea, if you prefer the window open or closed, to speak, to complain, to exist." Mr. Orlando blinked slowly. Then, for the first time in months, he smiled. The second resident was Mrs. Irene. She was 68, used a wheelchair, and had lived with her daughter, who treated her like a piece of furniture. She spent her days locked in her room, staring at the ceiling. When Marina went to pick her up, the daughter barely looked at them. "Finally," she said, handing over a suitcase, "I can't take it anymore." Marina said nothing. She just took Mrs. Irene away. In the car, Irene cried. "I'm a burden to her." Marina pulled over and looked at her. "You're not a burden. You're a person. And in our home, people matter." Irene cried again, but this time from relief. Over time, more people came. Mr. Antonio, who had lost his memory, but not his kindness. Mrs. Zilda, who collected photos of grandchildren who only showed up at Christmas. Mr. Roberto, who played guitar and taught music to Theo. The house that had once been a tomb became a garden. Marina managed everything with the help of a small team, a nurse, a cook, 2 caregivers, but she made sure to be present, to talk, to listen, to look each one in the eyes and see beyond the age. "You have a gift for this," said Augusto one day, watching her talk to Mrs. Irene about plants. "A gift for what? For caring without erasing?" Marina smiled. "I learned from you." Augusto, meanwhile, was getting stronger every day. He did daily physiotherapy, walked without a cane, had started painting again, and discovered he had talent. His colorful, abstract paintings began to adorn the home's walls. One day, Marina walked into his improvised studio and saw a new painting. It was of door 2B, but open, with light pouring in. "It's beautiful," she said. "It's freedom," Augusto replied. Livia returned to Brazil for a 2-week visit. When she saw the home, she cried, "Dad, I can't believe what you've done." "It wasn't just me," he said. "It was Marina. It was Duarte. It was everyone who decided that the forgotten deserved to be remembered." Livia hugged her father. Then she hugged Marina. "Thank you for not giving up on him." "He didn't give up on himself," Marina said. "I just opened the door." "You opened much more than that." One afternoon, Marina was on the veranda with Augusto drinking coffee when he said, "I have a request. Tell me. I want you to read something." He handed her an envelope. Marina opened it. Inside, a document. She read it, reread it. Her heart raced. Mr. Augusto, this is my will. Revised. You're in it. Marina shook her head, handing the envelope back. I can't accept this. That's not why. I know. Augusto interrupted gently but firmly. It's not because of that. It's because of humanity. And precisely because of that, you deserve it. Livia agrees, half goes to her, half to you, and everything I own here, he gestured toward the house, the home, stays under your care. So it continues. So it never becomes what it once was. Tears streamed down Marina's face. I don't know if I can carry this. You already have, Augusto said, holding her hand, for months, and you've carried it well. Marina looked toward the garden, at Mr. Orlando watering the plants, at Mrs. Irene laughing at something Teo had said, at the door 2B that no longer existed, replaced by a sunlit veranda. All right, she whispered. I accept, but on one condition. What is it? That you live a long time, a very long time, to see every person we'll help. Augusto smiled, a full, genuine smile. Deal. That night, Marina couldn't sleep. She stayed on the veranda, looking at the stars, thinking about everything, about how quickly life changes, about how a sound behind a door can change destinies. Teo appeared holding a blanket. You'll catch a cold. She smiled, accepted the blanket. Are you happy here? She asked. Very, he said honestly. And you? Marina thought of the small house they left behind, of the invisible work, of the quiet life. And she thought of this, the house that breathed, the people who smiled, the purpose she had found without searching. Me too, she said. Very. They stayed there, mother and son, looking at the sky, and for the first time in a long time, Marina felt peace. The next day, a letter arrived, addressed to Marina. Sender, São Paulo Women's Penitentiary. Marina opened it, hands trembling. Inside, a single sheet, shaky handwriting. You won. You took everything. My uncle, my name, my life. I hope you're happy. But know this, forgiveness is for those who deserve it, and you will never deserve mine. Signed, Renata. Marina read it, reread it, folded the letter, threw it in the trash, not out of anger but indifference, because forgiveness from someone who doesn't understand their wrong means nothing. And Marina had far more important things to do, like caring for the living. 6 months later, on a bright spring morning, Marina woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of laughter coming from the kitchen. She went downstairs slowly, still in her pajamas, and found the scene that had become routine. Mr. Orlando telling jokes, Mrs. Irene laughing, Teo helping set the table, Augusto reading the newspaper with his new glasses. Good morning, family, said Marina. Everyone answered in unison, and she felt her chest warm. Family. Not by blood, but by choice. That day, there was something special marked on the calendar. A ceremony. Small, intimate, but meaningful. Augusto had made a formal donation. Part of his recovered assets would go toward creating a permanent fund for the home. And more than that, he wanted to make something official. Marina, he said after breakfast, let's go to the notary's office. For what? You'll see. The notary's office was the same one where Marina had signed the power of attorney months earlier. But this time the room looked different. There were flowers. There were witnesses. Duarte, Soraya, Livia connected by video from London, Donna Celia the neighbor, and even Helena the prosecutor. Marina entered, confused. What is this? Augusto stood up, leaning on his cane, which he now used more out of habit than need. Marina, I spent a year of my life believing I'd been forgotten, that my name no longer mattered, that I was just a number, a problem, a burden. You gave me my name back. You gave me my voice back, and today I want to give you something in return. He picked up a document from the table and handed it to her. Marina took it, read it. It was a deed. For the house, for the home. All in her name. Mr. Augusto, I can't— You can, interrupted Livia from the screen. We want to, my father and I, because this place needs someone who understands what it means. And that person is you. Marina shook her head, tears falling. But this is everything. It's your life. No, said Augusto, his voice firm but gentle. My life is what happens within these walls. It's the people you welcome. It's the smiles you bring back. And I want to make sure that never ends. That when I'm no longer here, the home continues. In your hands, Marina sobbed. Tried to speak. Couldn't. Duarte stepped forward, holding out a pen. Sign it. so that all of this becomes official, so that no one can ever lock those doors again. Marina looked around, at every face, at every witness, at Augusto, who looked at her with something beyond gratitude, with love, the love of a father, a friend, a soul saved. She signed, and as she did, she felt something click into place inside her. Purpose, belonging, name. After the ceremony, everyone returned to the home. There was a simple but abundant lunch. Donna Zilda baked a cake. Mr. Roberto played guitar. Teo taught Mrs. Irene how to use a cell phone. Livia, on the screen, toasted with champagne from the other side of the world. To the home, she said, and to the woman who made it possible. Everyone raised their glasses. Marina, in the middle of the room, tried not to cry, but she did, out of joy, gratitude, and good exhaustion. Augusto approached and placed his hand on her shoulder. To the only person who looked at me as human, he said softly, I leave what no vault ever held. My name, my story, my hope. Marina took his hand. I just opened a door. You opened life, Augusto replied. That afternoon, Marina walked alone to the place where door 2B used to be. Now it was a wide veranda, full of plants, with comfortable chairs and a view of the garden. She leaned on the doorframe and took a deep breath. She thought of everything. The faint sound behind the door, the key on the table, Augusto's thin, lost face asking for help, the threats, the fear, the trial, the tears, and finally, the life that had been reborn. You did something beautiful, said a voice behind her. Marina turned. It was Soraya, the social worker who had believed in her when no one else did. I didn't do it alone. You did what mattered. The first step. The rest followed. Marina smiled, tired. Sometimes I'm still afraid I'll wake up and find out it was all a dream, that I'm still cleaning empty houses. You're not, said Soraya. You're cleaning away forgetfulness, and that's much bigger. The two stood there in silence, watching the garden where the elderly chatted, laughed, lived. How many people do you think we've managed to help? Asked Marina. Directly, 17 families were investigated, 8 seniors rescued. Dr. Prado is being prosecuted. Renata is serving her sentence. And the system, well, the system is waking up. Slowly, but it's waking up. And indirectly? Soraya looked at Marina. Impossible to count, because everyone who's heard this story has learned something. To see, to question, not to close their eyes. And that, Marina, can't be measured. That night, when the lights were off and everyone was asleep, Marina stayed in the kitchen alone with a cup of tea. She took an old notebook she used for home tasks and began to write. She didn't really know why, but she felt she needed to. Today I made official what I've known for months. This place is mine, not because I earned it, but because it chose me, or rather, because I chose to see it. I chose to open the door everyone ignored. Augusto gave me a name, but in truth he gave me back my own. Because before this, I was just Marina, the cleaning lady, the invisible one, the one who cleaned and left. Now I'm Marina, the one who stays, the one who cares, the one who looks people in the eye and sees a person. And if one day someone asks me what I did with my life, I'll say, I opened doors and let the sunlight in. She closed the notebook, drank her tea, turned off the light, and went upstairs to sleep. The house no longer smells of disinfectant. It smells of warm bread and freshly brewed coffee. The hallway that was once a graveyard of footsteps now carries colorful paintings made by hands that trembled, but never gave up. Door 2B no longer exists. In its place, a veranda that swallows sunlight. Marina walks slowly, a dish towel draped over her shoulder, the radio whispering an old song. At the gate, a sign reads, The Augusto Mendez Home, where no one is forgotten. It's not a mansion, it's a house, and it's enough. 10 beds hold 10 stories. Mr. Orlando, who smiles again. Mrs. Irene, who learned to use a computer and talks to her grandchildren every week. Mr. Roberto, who gives guitar lessons to Teo. Mrs. Zilda, who organizes photo albums and finally feels seen. And others, always others, because the forgotten never end. The world keeps turning, but inside, time relearns how to walk. Livia calls once a week. She talks to her father, to Marina, to the residents. It took few words and much silence for her to understand that distance isn't measured in kilometers, but in closed eyes. She promises to return in December. She learned late, but she learned. Sometimes guilt is just the name we give to what can still be repaired. Dr. Prado no longer practices. Disbarred, prosecuted, forgotten. Renata awaits years in prison. The news has forgotten the case, but the city hasn't. Every now and then, someone honks and leaves a bag of groceries, a flower, a note. Thank you for opening the door. Augusto runs his fingers slowly over the wood of the veranda. His hand still trembles, but not from fear. He asks for a pen, writes his own name without support, as if redrawing his own story. It's crooked, he smiles. It's alive, says Marina. In the afternoon, she goes out with a bucket and broom. She leans against the doorway, breathes. The sound of the street arrives clean. A boy rides by on a bicycle. Two neighbors chat. A dog barks in the yard next door. Marina closes her eyes for a moment and thinks of the small things that fit inside a single gesture. A glass of water, a peeled apple, the courage to say no when the whole world wants your silence. At night, when the lights go out, she gathers the dish towel, turns off the last lamp and whispers, to no one and to everyone, tomorrow I'll clean again. Not the house, forgetfulness. And that's how it ends. Not with fireworks or headlines, but with a name, an open door, and the certainty that every life needs a window.